All right, Kelly, thank you. For the first time ever, the federal government just declared a Tier 1 shortage on the lower Colorado River. Tier 1 shortage means that cuts in water delivery to both Arizona and Nevada will happen next year.
So we'll get less water from Lake Mead, and that's because there's a lot less water in Lake Powell. April joining us with more on our mega drought's impact on these reservoirs.
Yeah, well, much of Arizona relies on the Colorado River for our water, and that water comes to us from Lake Mead. Most of the water in Lake Mead comes from Lake Powell. Think of Lake Mead as like our checking account when it comes to water, and Lake Powell like our savings account. Well, right now we're spending more than we've got as Lake Mead drops, and now our savings account, well, that's drying up too. Take a live look right now. This is the webcam up at the Dangling Rope Marina at Lake Powell. That is an area now closed. I went up to Lake Powell to check out this water crisis for myself. Lake Powell is without question my favorite place in all of Arizona. I grew up coming up here and swimming, fishing, hiking. It is just stunning. But with these quickly dropping water levels, it looks much different today. The broad white lines on these sandstone cliffs tell the story. Lake Powell is shrinking before our eyes. 20-plus years of drought have reshaped this shoreline. The lake today only 32% full.
Status of the lake today is not a great one.
Bob Martin with the Bureau of Reclamation explains Mother Nature is partly to blame.
We've only received about 30% of what normally would have flown into Lake Powell this water year.
Extremely low snowpack this past winter means much less water coming into this reservoir, but the same amount was released to supply water and power to Arizona, California, and Nevada. So these canyon walls get higher and the channels more narrow as the lake dwindles.
It is getting serious, and after 21 years of drought, it's easy to get calloused to that news headline. But as we get further into the drought, the more serious it becomes for everybody.
An active monsoon season only helped a little. In July alone, the lake dropped 6 more inches. It's now 52 feet lower than 1 year ago, at its lowest level ever. This is the floating boat ramp out here at Antelope Point Marina. This dock goes up and down with water levels. But when those water levels dropped off dramatically, they had to build that special ramp just to connect this dock to the ramp up there, which was left dangling in the air.
What's affected most, April, is access. The ramps are running out of water.
Captain Bill McBurney has been a fishing guide in this area for decades.
The whole effect, the whole picture of it is leaves you in wonderment, just how far can it go.
Still, McBurney wishes people would not change their plans and still come up here. He adds those fish are still biting.
There's still a lot of water. We've got over 300 feet here and almost 400 still in the main channel.
Okay. We spotted plenty of kayakers and stand-up paddleboarders. For now, you can launch your own boat from the ramps that are still open, and you can still rent a houseboat, but eventually that may change too.
If the drought continues to worsen, total speculation, but it could be very detrimental for this marina in particular, and recreation on the lake itself.
Some short-term hope: the Bureau is releasing water from 3 sources upstream, which will ensure the dam can keep generating power and raise the lake by 3 feet between now and December. But is that just a Band-Aid?
Definitely a Band-Aid. Yeah, definitely a Band-Aid. Releasing that extra water from the upper basin states we're kind of essentially financing another year.
A long-term solution includes a combination of better snowpack, a supply we can't really control, and decreasing demand.
That affects everybody living in the West, from farmers to recreators to turning the tap on in your home. It's going to take conservation. It's going to take answering some tough questions, and everybody everybody that lives in the West has a piece of this. So we all have to contribute to the solution. So if we don't make the decisions, I think we're going to be forced. Mother Nature is going to force us to make those hard decisions.
If you're planning a trip to Lake Powell, the National Park Service says be prepared for longer lines, limited parking, and more traffic out there on the water, since there's simply less lake to share.
So the Bureau of Reclamation just announced yesterday that they will release less water from Powell to Lake Mead over the next 2 years unless we get a very wet winter. And
So-
it looks like we're getting that.
Yeah, all we're talking about is rain over the last couple
Yeah.
of days, but that's really just a drop in the proverbial bucket when we're talking about this issue, right?
Yeah, it's snowpack that they need. That's what
Okay.
fuels that. It's the monsoon is not helping it a whole lot. So they're going to release less. So that's going to do a couple things. It's going to help keep the lake levels a little higher. That's good for boaters, for recreation up there. But again, that means less water is available then to Lake Mead, and less water available to states like Arizona that rely on the Colorado River. So unless Mother Nature helps out with a wet winter this year, those higher lake levels, they come at the expense of the farmers and residents here in the West. So you guys can see why there's so much fighting about water in the West in years like this one when there is just not enough to go around.